进到那个 tutorial group， 然后 tutorial group not now， 他就放那个 tutorial ID， 然后如果因为group 和那 tutorial 和那个 student 的那都是 group， 所以他就会 add else 的话不能发生什么事情就 fail， 然后这个东西。else 它就如果 group 是now 的话，它就会invalid tutorial group 这个，然后 students 如果 students 的 if students 是 now 的话，可能 students 红线。这种话
一直看到啊。周末你想一个？
啊？
周末你想一个？
我已经有一个了。
很大个。
它这里
你不痛快，可以挂还是啥事？
这样子 if not now，然后我就直接进到这个地方。
因为你这个是图片是啥事？你给他看多就能会。
你的飞字
就是 if student
刚才有这东西猜不完了，怎么？
if 这个 tutorial groups group，那我的话我就直接进到这边就
美女。
真的真的。我把你的那些活给我妈妈看，然后她问我是谁给的。她问我那个微信是from谁？我讲是你哦。
你老妈不知道 POV 是什么？
她不知道，我也不知道。我不知道多多有卖20层。
有啊，他们自己可能是些 train 或者
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
去的那种，他们牺牲一小一点，
may I know who is
再卖回给
Samantha?
卖回给你们，便宜一点哦。
这样如果我的车的话，是我在 KL
Oh,
买
not
这
here.
辆车，然后我在槟城
Okay,
试
fine.
这个费。
OK 的。
Okay, student, please stop talking. Okay, so let's continue. Ready? Ready? Yes or no? Alright. So you have this chapter today, risk management. Alright. So for this chapter, I will first explain to you what's risk, what risk is, what is risk management. So basically there are two strategies, reactive risk strategy and proactive risk strategy. Okay, so those are the two common risk strategy. So which one is better than the other one? Okay, we'll explain to you later. So 5.2 is risk management processes. So what are the things that we need to do to manage project risk? So things to do are planning, plan risk, identify potential risk, and do a risk projections. After that, refine the risk. After you have identified the risk, you have to further refine it. So you may first identify 100 risks. After refine, you may end up with 80 or 70. Alright. So that's normally happen after refinement. So when refinement is done, then you do risk mitigation, monitoring, and management. Okay, so 5.1 to 5.7. Okay, so what's risk? Two definitions here. There are many. Okay, but here, we look at two definitions. An uncertain event or condition, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on a project objective. So usually risk will result in a negative impact to the company or to the project team. So another definition is a risk is something that you would prefer not to have happened, because risk is not something that is good. Risk is something that is bad and you do not want it to happen. Okay, so what is risk management? So the answer is risk management is the art and science of identifying, assigning and responding to risk throughout the life of a project in the best interest of meeting project objective. Okay, so risk management is the art and science of handling risk in project management. So these are examples of risk. So for this table, okay, so just look at the first column. These are just example of risk. High staff turnover is a risk. Okay, high staff turnover is a risk. Okay, why high staff turnover is a risk? Initially, you may have 10 staff working in the project. Okay, so when there's a high staff turnover, over time, only 5 staff left. So this is a risk. So this risk can threaten the project deadline. Okay, so this is because when you have less people, then you may not be able to meet the project deadline. So it is a risk. Staff inexperience is also a risk. Okay, so when staff is inexperienced, okay, inexperienced staff cannot do things fast. Okay, so can also cause problem to the deadline, not able to meet deadline. Funding will be lost. Okay, this will be a problem. So when funding is lost, so the company will not be able to pay for a project, then project cannot be completed. Okay, so lack of training on tools is also a kind of risk. So risk management is the art and science. So the art part means when there is a risk, okay, when there's a risk, there is more than one solution. Okay, so when there's a problem, there's more than one solution. So which solution you want to use? You have to make your own judgment, and it depends on the situation. So it is art. Okay, so one problem is not that there is only one solution. So there are many ways to solve a problem. So which one to choose depends on what is the best way to handle the risk in your best opinion. Okay, so that's art. So you choose the right solution for your problem. One problem always have many solutions. Okay, so just to repeat, okay, so risk is an uncertain event or condition that if it occurs has a positive or negative effect on the project objective. Okay, so risk when it happens can affect your deadline. Okay, so your project team may not be able to deliver all the work. Okay, not able to meet quality requirements. Okay, so cost may exceed budget. So usually risk will have a negative effect on project objective. That's why you need to manage it. A risk is something that you prefer not to happen. Okay, so this is a simpler definition of what a risk is. Okay, something that you prefer not to have happen. Okay, risk is usually something that is bad and you don't want it to happen. Okay, so risk management is the art and science of handling risk. Okay, so the art is there are many solutions. You choose the right one to solve your problem. Okay, then for science, what is science? So the science is, let's say you want to calculate the risk score. Okay, so risk score is a probability multiplied impact. So probability multiplied impact is 1.8. That is science. 0.6 multiplied 1.3 is 1.8. It cannot be something else. That is a science, right? So 0.3 multiplied by 3 is 0.9. Okay, it cannot be something else. Okay, so I've explained to you what's risk. Okay, what is risk management? Okay, so the goal of project risk management is to minimize potential risks while maximizing potential opportunities. So usually the goal of risk management is to minimize potential risk. Okay, if possible, you get rid of the risk. Okay, so risks happen from the start until the end of a project. So it is often overlooked in project. So risk management is often overlooked in projects. FIP student? Okay, FIP student, any one of you done this before you start your project? You identify what are the risks that you may have, then you categorize the risks. So for each risk, what's the probability that it will become real? So what is the impact to you? What is the impact to you? The impact to your project? So impact can be 1 to 4, okay, or 1 to 10 is up to you, whether you want to use a scale from 1 to 4 or 1 to 10. So 1 is negligible. The larger the number, the more serious it is. Okay. Then RMMM. So the first M is mitigation, the second M is monitoring, the third M is management. So this 3M is how you want to what you will do, okay, before project start to lessen the impact of the risk. Okay, what you do to monitor the risk. So what you do when the risk become real. Project student, anyone done this before you start FIP1? Okay, so if you are doing a real life project, if you are the project manager, you cannot escape from doing this. Okay, so this is essential. Okay, so reactive risk strategy versus proactive risk strategy. So reactive risk strategy means, okay, action to deal with risk are taken only when problem arise. So also known as firefighting. So reactive risk strategy is when a risk occur, okay, then you take action. No risk, no action. Okay, so when the risk occur, okay, you take action to contain the risk. So proactive risk strategy is potential risks are identified, their probability and impact are assessed before any technical work begun. So before you have started any work, okay, so you have identified the potential risk in the project. So the probability and impact of each risk. Okay, then you develop contingency plan. Okay, so you develop a contingency plan to respond to the risk in a controlled and effective manner. Okay, so a contingency plan, preparing a contingency plan means you have prepared in advance what to do if any identified risks become real. Okay, so primary objective is to avoid risk. Okay, so this chapter focuses on proactive risk strategy. So we will compare proactive risk strategy and reactive risk strategy. Okay, of course, proactive risk strategy is a better strategy than a reactive risk strategy. So why this one is better than this is because so when something bad happen, you already have planned what to do. Okay, so things will be more under control. Okay, so risk management processes. Okay, risk planning, risk identification, okay, risk analysis, okay, then risk planning, okay, monitoring and control. So these are the risk management processes. So meaning, okay, all the things that you need to do to manage risk. Okay, so risk management plan should cover the following areas. What is the specific risk? So you have to identify what are the potential risks in your project. FIP student, what are the potential risks in your project?
I'm the biggest risk already lah.
Behind schedule, yes. Behind schedule is a potential risk because you are not doing your project. You also have few technical subjects at the same time. Okay. So the risk is you may not be able to complete on time. Okay, some may not be able to complete all the work that you promised to deliver. Your cost is not affected. Usually your cost is not affected. Your quality may be affected too. All right. Okay. So risk management plan should cover what is the specific risk. Okay. So why it is important to take or not to take this risk. How the risk is going to be mitigated. So you may not be able to complete on time right at the beginning. So what you do? How do you want to deal with the risk? Okay. So how the risk is going to be mitigated? So to mitigate means to reduce or lessen the negative effect or impact of risk. Okay, so who are responsible for implement the risk management plan? The answer is usually the project manager. Okay, so how much effort are required to mitigate the risk? So to mitigate means to reduce or lessen the negative effect or impact of a risk. Okay. So also useful to have contingency plan, which is the predefined actions to take if an identified risk become real. Okay, so example here is if user interface expert A is not available, so then the contingency plan is to use UI expert B. Okay, so this is an example of contingency plan. So you may have engaged interface expert A to help you to design your screen. Okay, so when the time arrives to design screen, but this person is not available, okay, you cannot delay the design stage. So you should have prepared in advance. Okay, who another expert who can cover the one who is not available. Okay. So contingency reserve for allowance. So it is also good to have reserve funds. Okay, so to mitigate cost or schedule risk if it does occur. So also need good to prepare reserve fund. Okay. All right. Risk identification. Okay. So risk identification is identify risks that could threaten the software engineering process, the software being developed, and the development organization. I skip this one. Okay. So let's look at what are the common risks in IT projects. Okay. So the first one is financial risk. So financial risk is, can the organization afford to undertake the project? Is this project the best way to use a company financial resources? So back to the first question, I have changed the title here. Okay, so the title here I've changed to common risk in IT projects. So one is, can the organization afford to undertake the project? Can the organization to afford to undertake the project? So if answer is no, okay, so if answer is no, the organization cannot afford, but the project still start. Okay, so halfway when you have no money to pay the contractor, the project will not be able to complete. So this is a risk. Is this project the best way to use company financial resources? If answer is no and the project is still go ahead, okay, so halfway management may decide, okay, let's stop this project. Okay, it's not the best way to use the company financial resources. Stop it. Okay, let's do something else. Then the project is abandoned. Okay. So the next is, does the organization have the people with the right skill to complete the project successfully? Okay, so if no, likely you will not be able to meet the project deadline. So does senior management support the project? If no, answer is also a risk. Okay, so it is risk to a project manager because when project manager want to ask for more resources, okay, example like better machines to do the project, so likely the project will not be able to get what he wants, okay, if senior management is not supporting the project. Okay, so will hardware, software and network function properly? If answer is no, okay, so if answer is no, project is completed, quality will be affected. Okay, so what degree of change will the new project introduce into user area and business procedures? Okay, so if answer is amount of change is high, okay, so for this question, if the answer is amount of change is high, it causes people to change their way of working, so user will resist the system. Okay, so these are common risks. Okay, these are common risks. So you may complete a project, but user may refuse. Okay, refuse to use the system if their way of work is affected negatively. How many of you here have registered for Padu? No? You know what's Padu? Okay, I'm glad you know. Can share by raising your hand if you are registered for Padu. No.
那个政府的那个资料，填那个资料，好像
So not many people register for Padu. Okay, not all citizens. Okay, so as a deadline was 50 to 60% only, as advertised in the news. Okay, so this means some people just refuse to use the system. Okay, so another common risk is, okay, will someone else create a better product or service faster than you? Okay, so if yes, doing the project is a waste of time and money because user will not accept and use your product or service. So these are common risks. Okay, so techniques to identify risks. So what are the techniques to identify risks? Okay, so number one is brainstorming. So brainstorming, project team members come together to discuss possible risks. Okay, so team members sit together to discuss possible risks in the project. So what will be the outcome of this activity? After doing this, what will be the outcome? So the outcome will be a list of risks. Okay, a list of risks. After doing this, you should have come up with something. So the output will be a list of risks. Right? Okay. So this is another way to identify risks. Okay, you can conduct interview. So ask people who have used particular hardware and software in his previous project. Okay, so why you want to ask people who have used particular hardware or software in his previous project is because you want to reduce technology risk. Okay, so you may also want to ask people who have worked with a particular customer before you. Okay, so a new customer come to you. Before you accept this as your customer, you may want to ask other company who have engaged with this customer before. So why you want to do that? Okay, so perhaps one of the reasons is you may want to know whether this customer is financially sound or not financially sound. So because if you accept this customer job and later this customer will not able to pay you, okay, both will suffer. Of course, you do not want to suffer. If you are a developer, you do not want to suffer. So you may want to do some research first. This is one reason why you may want to ask people about this particular customer. So another possible reason is you want to know whether this is a fussy customer or this is a good customer. Fussy customer may change requirement from time to time. Okay, when fussy customer changing requirements from time to time, then the question is when the project will end. Okay, so there's a start and it looks like there's no end. Okay, so before you accept a new customer, this is some background work that you may want to do, right? To check whether the customer is financially sound, okay, to know whether this is a good customer or a fussy customer. If you have a fussy customer, when you have a project with a fussy customer, it's like there's no end to a project. Okay, so next is Delphi technique. So Delphi technique is a group of experts contribute ideas on specific issue. They then further refine these ideas and lastly finalize on what is acceptable. So it's similar to brainstorming. Okay, brainstorming involves project team members. Okay, but this one is a gathering of a group of experts. Okay, so it's a gathering of a group of experts. Okay, so to identify potential risks. Okay, so last is SWOT analysis. So use SWOT analysis to compare your company with another company to see who is likely to win a project. So when you do a SWOT analysis, then you can make a decision whether to bid or not to bid for a project. If you found out that other company is better than you, stronger than you, then you should not bid. Okay, otherwise it's a waste of time and money. Okay, so done planning. Okay, risk identification. So what are the 4 ways that you can use to identify risk? Brainstorming, interview, use Delphi technique, conduct SWOT analysis. Alright. Okay. So the next thing to do is, so by now you have identified what are the risks. Alright? By now you have identified what are the risks. Shh. Shh. Okay, so the next thing to do is measure the probability and consequences of risk. Okay, so take step to reduce threats. So take step to reduce threats means take step to reduce the risk. Okay, then do monitoring and control. Okay. So now you have to come up with a risk table. Okay. So after you identify a risk, develop a risk table. So column 1 is the risk that you identify. Column 2 is the category of the risk. So probability of each risk, probability is 0 to 1. Okay, it's 0 to 1 only. So impact of each risk. So you can use a scale 1 to 4 or 1 to 10 is up to you. Okay, 1 to 4, or it can be 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. I think 1 to 20 will not make sense. So 1 to 10, if you use the scale 1 to 10 is fine. 1 to 4 is also fine. Okay, and last column is mitigation, monitoring and management strategy. Okay, so the category of risk. So after you have identified the risk, okay, you put in the risk table. So the next column is the risk category. So the risk belongs to what category? So there are few categories here. Technology to be built. So technology this is technology risk. So example of technology risk is using a new language in a project. Using a new language in a project is a technology risk. Okay, so compatibility issue is also a technology risk. Okay, so compatibility issue is when computer software need to integrate with other system. Okay, so you do not know whether after the integration the system work or it does not work. So it is a risk. Okay, so staff size and experience. Okay, high staff turnover. Okay, so high staff turnover is a staff size risk. Okay, high staff turnover. Okay, let's say from 10 staff, okay, to 5 staff. Okay, so operating a smaller team than required is also a staff size risk. Okay, so operating with a smaller team. Ideally, you should operate with a team of 10 staff. Okay, but somehow you do not get 10 staff. You can only get 6 staff. So you start the project with a small team. So it is a risk. The risk is okay, so the project may not be able to complete on time. Quality may be affected. Okay. Customer characteristic. This is customer risk. Example, customer has unrealistic expectation. Okay, so this is a customer risk. So customer keep changing requirements. Okay, it's customer risk. Alright. So you identify risk, you have categorized them. So next is risk estimation. So for risk estimation, you rate each risk in 2 ways. So the likelihood or probability that the risk is real, consequences or impact associated with the risk. Okay, consequences of risk. So for each risk, what's the probability, what's the impact and consequences, and ensure accuracy. And ensure you have done this accurately. Okay, I need estimate the probability accurately, estimate the impact accurately, do things accurately. Okay, so risk impact scale. 1 is negligible, 2 is marginal, 3 is critical, 4 is catastrophic. Alright, so this is a scale 1 to 4. Alright, so you can also use 1 to 10 and you define your scale. What does 1 means and what does 10 means. Okay, so risk table. This is the risk table. So the risk, the category, probability, impact. So your mitigation plan, monitoring plan, and management plan. Okay, so high staff turnover, probability 60%, makes sense? So 60% means if you have 10 staff, 6 will likely leave the project before the project finish. Okay, maybe this can be the situation, okay? Because programming is a very high pressure job. Okay, so impact is critical. Agree? Can the impact be negligible? Okay, no, the impact cannot be negligible. The impact cannot be marginal. 60%. If 60%, it cannot be negligible or marginal. Okay, if 60%, okay, should be critical or catastrophic. Okay. So another example that I want to discuss is technology will not meet expectation. Okay, so technology will not meet expectation. So this is technology risk. Probability is 30%. Okay, impact 4, catastrophic. Is it logical? 4. Technology will not meet expectation. Can it be negligible? Cannot be negligible. Huh? Cannot be marginal. Okay, 3 or 4. Okay, 3 or 4. 30% also makes sense. Technology will not meet expectation if you put 80%. 80% doesn't sound logical. Okay. So if technology doesn't meet expectation, that means user would not like to use your system. Perhaps when your system is delivered to the client will receive an outdated system. So this happens if the project duration is quite long. Okay, you start the project in, for example, you start the project in year 2000. Okay, expected to finish in 2005, 5 years later. Okay, likely when client receives the system is outdated, not meeting customer requirements. Okay, so risk table. Okay, so after you have created the risk table, pay attention to high impact risk with moderate to high probability, low impact risk but with high probability. Okay, this is my opinion. Okay, so this is my opinion. Probability 0.1 to 0.3 is low, 0.4 to 0.7 is moderate, okay, 0.8 to 1.0 is high. Okay, so this is my opinion. So impact 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 is low, 3, 4 high. Okay. So here says pay attention to high impact risk. Okay, high impact risk with moderate to high probability. Okay, so you should pay attention to risk that falls into this category: high, moderate to high. And also low impact risk but with high probability. So the second one is high probability. High probability is this one. Okay, low impact. So these are the risks that you need to pay attention to. Probability are high. Okay. Even though impact is low, but probability high. Okay. You can do this. If this is difficult, perhaps you can do this. Okay, do one more step, calculate the risk score for each risk. So how to calculate risk score is you multiply impact with probability. Okay, then you get a number. Sort risk table, then you sort the risk table by risk score in descending order. Okay, in descending order. So in descending order, that means risk with the high score will appear at the top, risk with the low score will appear at the bottom. So pay attention to those risks with high score. Alright, so how to calculate risk score? You use probability and impact, multiply these two, you get a number, that's the risk score. Okay, so sort the risk table by risk score, sort the table by this column in descending order, so that risk with the high score will appear at the top. Okay, set cut-off line. Okay, cut-off line. So cut-off line means you decide what are the risks that you want to pay attention to and what are the risks that you may want to ignore. So you may want to ignore risks below 1. You may want, so when you set the cut-off line, you may want to decide. So risk with score below 1, okay, ignore. Above 1, okay, take note of them. Okay, so you draw a line. Because when you do brainstorming to identify risks, you may have hundreds or 200 risks. Okay, you may not want to take care of all of them. You only want to take care of those risks with high score.
Smelly.
Let me ask you a question.
I sent you answer the question.
Let's say there's a risk. The risk, so the probability is 0.01. Impact is 4. Okay. Will you pay attention to this? Probability 0.01. Okay, very low probability. Okay, but very high probability. Okay. Will you pay attention to this kind of risk?
Yeah. 要再跟我说。
Example,
也可以跟他吃饭，先请你起来。
power failure during exam.
不要去乱讲。
Okay, power failure during exam. Probability is very, very low, right? Impact, maximum. Okay, impact is maximum. Impact is catastrophic. Imagine that you are having exam in a college hall. Okay, inside the college hall, power failure. I think things will become very excited. Okay, so at the same time, the same paper is also being set at branches, but branches no power failure. Power failure here. Power failure occur here. Okay, so do you want to take the risk or do something so that this can be avoided? Okay. Exam, serious job. Okay, serious job. Cannot fail. Okay, must go on from start to end. Yeah, okay. So must take care. So must take care even though probability is very low. Happened before? Anyone experienced this before? Okay. Thank God no. Okay. Okay, next, assessing risk exposure. So assessing risk exposure, what does this mean? So it means measure the amount of losses if a particular risk become real. Okay, so assessing risk exposure means you measure the amount of losses if a particular risk become real. Okay, so how to calculate risk exposure is probability multiply cost. Okay, example. So example, you read first this example. Okay, read the example. Okay, so I'll show you the next part. Okay, probability 80%. So this is a risk, probability is 80%. So this is the scenario. Okay, 60 components. So 70% can be reused. Okay, 60 component, only 70% can be reused. That means 42 components can be reused out of 60. So 30%, which is 18 components. Okay, so need to be coded manually. Okay. Each component, 100 lines of codes. So the cost for each line of code is 14. Okay. So the cost, so the cost to develop the 18 components will be 18 times 100 times 14. Okay, so 25,200. $25,200. So this is a losses. Okay, so this is a losses. Okay, if this risk become real, only 70% can be reused, not 100%. Okay, so this is how you calculate risk exposure. So this gives you an idea of the losses. Okay, so this gives you the idea of losses or damage if a particular risk become real. Okay, wait. Or times probability. Okay, multiply 0.8. Okay, so risk exposure is probability multiplied cost. So the cost of developing 18 components. Okay, I skip this one. Okay, now we go to the last part. Risk mitigation, monitoring and management. So this is the last part of the risk table. So an effective risk management strategy must consider 3 issues. So risk mitigation. Risk mitigation is to develop options and actions to reduce threat to project objective. Okay, and risk monitoring and control is to assess. Okay, pay attention. So risk monitoring and control is a project tracking activity. So it's a tracking activity. Monitoring and control is a tracking activity. Okay, so you use it to assess whether the predicted risks do in fact occur. So you have to check whether or not the risk that you have identified has actually occurred or not. Okay, you have to assess. So to ensure the risk aversion step defined for the risk are being properly applied, I explain to you why I've highlighted this part. Okay, so to collect information that can be used for future risk analysis. So monitoring and control is a tracking activity. So you check whether the predicted risk has actually occurred or not. So you continuously collect information. Okay, you continuously collect information to monitor the risk and to ensure that the risk aversion steps defined for the risk are being properly applied. So risk management and contingency planning is take action. Okay, so take action where mitigation efforts have failed and then the risk has become a reality. So risk management is to take action when the risk has become real. The risk has happened. Take action. Okay, so here, this one is to check whether or not you have taken the action. That's why this is highlighted and this is highlighted. Okay, so this is what a project manager should do for each risk. Okay, for each risk, come up with a risk information sheet. All right, high staff turnover is a risk. So this is a risk. This is the probability and the impact. Okay, so what does it impact? It impact on project cost and project schedule. Right? And the mitigation, monitoring and management plan. So for this risk mitigation is to develop options and action to reduce staff turnover or to reduce the negative impact of staff turnover. Okay, so understand the meaning of, you have to have a good understanding, correct understanding of mitigation, monitoring and control so that you do your assignment correctly. Okay, so mitigation is to develop options and action to reduce staff turnover or to reduce the negative impact of staff turnover. So what you can do here is meet with current staff to determine causes for turnover. So how you can do this is, you may choose a suitable stand-off meeting session to find out from remaining staff, okay, why some of the team members leave the project. Okay. Assign backup staff member for every critical technology. Okay, so example, Jim is a network specialist and Jack is a network technician. Okay, so Jim is a specialist and Jack is a technician. So assign Jack to work closely with Jim to manage the company network infrastructure. Okay, so assign Jack to work closely with Jim so that Jack can learn from Jim. Okay, so when Jim is unavailable due to resignation, then Jack can ensure service continuity. Okay. So this is an example for assigning backup staff for every critical technology. Okay, so in an organization, it is good to have 2 or more staff that can handle the same type of work. Okay, so if in an organization only one staff know how to manage an organization infrastructure, when this person leave the organization, okay, the organization will be in trouble when there's a network problem. So there must be a backup staff. Okay, so monitoring. So monitoring is collect information that can be used for risk analysis. So monitoring collect information that can be used for risk analysis. So for monitoring, you can access the interpersonal relationship among team members. So monitoring, so you observe relationship between team members. Are they clicking well, or they are not talking to each other? Okay, so this can give you a signal. Okay, a signal. If team members are not working with one another, chances of them leaving the organization will be high. So it's a risk. Okay, so what else you can do is monitor the availability of jobs within the company and outside. So availability of jobs within the company. So this can happen in big organization. So in big organization, so a staff may want to transfer to another department. Okay, so this is a possibility. Okay, so job market. So you can also monitor job market. When job market is good, okay, so chances of staff joining another company is also high. Okay, so this can increase staff turnover. Okay, so monitoring, collect information that can be used for risk analysis. So you check interpersonal relation amongst team members, whether it's good or bad. Okay, so monitor availability of jobs within the company and outside. Okay, so monitor, what you can do is monitor the overall economy of the country and IT job market. So when the economy is good, there will be plenty of jobs in the job market, correct? Okay, so chances of a staff resign from a company and join another company is high. Okay, when the economy is good. Okay, so when economy is bad, the probability of high turnover will be lower. Okay. Now economy is good or bad?
还没有给考。对吧？不管你拿。
Normal to good, I would say. Okay, normal to good. Because of AI, because of EV, electric vehicle, because of AI, because of 5G. Okay, IT job market is still good. Alright. So what should you check? How to check job market? Where to check? Job Street. Okay, you can go to Job Street and search. Okay, so how many jobs are available? Then you will have an idea. Okay, you will have an idea whether job market is good or bad. Okay, so management take action when mitigation efforts have failed and then the risk has become reality. So management plan is to take action. Okay, so take action when mitigation efforts have failed, and then the risk has become a reality. Okay, so example of action that you can take is use backup staff. So when the risk become real, okay, so use backup staff. Example, use Jack to replace those who is unavailable or has left the company. So apply what you have planned over here. Okay, apply what you have planned here. Apply when the risk become real. Okay. So risk is something that you would prefer not to happen. Okay. So what are the best practices for handling risk? So number one is take necessary actions to avoid the risk altogether. Okay. So do whatever you can to avoid the risk. Take precaution to reduce the probability of the risk. Okay, so second is take precaution to reduce the probability of risk. Take the necessary action to lessen the impact of the risk when it occurs. Transfer the risk to another person or organization. Alright. So how to transfer risk to another person or organization? This is one way you can transfer risk. Okay, so you receive a big project. Okay, you receive a big project, you are from company A. One way to transfer risk is you invite company B. Okay, you invite company B to do this project with you. Okay, this is a big project. You invite B, okay, to do this project with you. Alright. So when things go wrong, okay, and there is a 500,000 penalty. Okay, when things go wrong and there's a 500,000 penalty, you are not paying this penalty alone. This amount will be shared between you and company B. So this is one way you can do to transfer risk. How insurance company transfer risk? Almost the same concept. One customer has a Ferrari. So insured amount is 2 million. Okay, insured amount is 2 million. So usually company A will not accept this risk alone. Okay. Usually 2 or more insurance company will take the risk. Okay. If something went wrong to this car, need to pay 2 million. Okay, then each one pay 1 million instead of one company alone paying 2 million. Okay, so this is a common way insurance company transfer risk. Okay. Sometimes for a particular risk, you may have to accept it. Okay, so you may accept it. You may accept it by choosing not to do anything. Okay, so do nothing if cause of action, okay, is greater than damage. Okay, so if cause of action is greater than damage, okay, so no point handling the risk. Okay, it's better that you do nothing. Okay, so that's all for this chapter. Oh. So this chapter, what I skip during exam, you can also skip. So you pay attention to those that are highlighted. Okay, so for this part, which you need to do in your assignment, let me tell you what are the common mistakes students make. Common mistake student make is the answer for mitigation appear in monitoring. The answer for management appear in mitigation. So these are the common mistakes students make. Okay, when preparing the risk information sheet. Okay, so your answer must be in the right place. So your answer must be in the right place. Okay, so you have to understand mitigation, monitoring, and management correctly. So mitigation is to develop options and action to reduce staff turnover if the risk is staff turnover, okay, or to reduce the negative impact of staff turnover. Okay, so monitoring is to collect information that can be used for risk analysis. Can you collect information by doing this? Yes, you can collect information by doing this. You can also collect information by doing this. When you do this, you are able to get information. So management is take action when mitigation efforts have failed and that the risk has become real. Action. This is action. Okay, so this is action. So this is collecting information. This one This one is to reduce the impact. This is to reduce the impact of staff turnover. Okay, so take note whatever you write, match it with the risk. Okay, so match it with the risk. So it is good to specify what will be the impact of this risk. So this risk will have impact on cost and schedule. High staff turnover will have impact on schedule, correct? High staff turnover will have impact on schedule because when staff leave the organization, okay, then the project may not be able to complete on time because today a staff leave, you will not get a new staff tomorrow. There may be a waiting time. How staff turnover can have impact on project costs? Anyone? Give you time to speak rather than I speak all the time.
Staff turnover cost.
A 4, 5, 6 staff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6 resign before the project complete. A, B, C replace them. Okay, A, B, C replace them. Okay, so staff turnover can have impact on project cost and schedule. Okay, so when these 3 left the company, this will not appear tomorrow. It can be weeks or months later. So that's how the deadline can be impacted. Okay, how can it affect costs?
Do additional training.
Additional training to train ABC? Yes, okay, can. Okay, train. It could be due to training costs. Any other possible reason?
Later they ask for higher salary.
Correct. Replacement cost. So salary, these three salary is higher. So their salary is higher. Okay. So that's how cost is affected. If you want to get staff urgent, then I think the cost is also much higher. If you can pay higher, then you can get new staff faster. If you are not willing to pay higher, pay the same amount, then you have to keep finding people, interview them. Okay. After interview, some may accept the offer, some may not accept the offer, then you interview again. This can be the situation. Okay, done. Any question? Okay, if no question, that's all for today.
gym 2个小时。